Good afternoon. Happy Wednesday, LinkedIn friends, Valley First Nation. Welcome to another episode of AI native shifting stuff. It's part three of our little series on some core beliefs that we think are valuable to apply as we learn how to use AI agents, AI systems, all that stuff. Today, we're talking about empowerment over learned helplessness. Uh, and it's right on time, Erin, because I've been struggling over the last week or so with one, agents telling me how uh, being hyper aware of all the mistakes that they're making and letting me know it's the fourth time that this has happened today. How crazy is that?
Mm,
Uh, or just like, yeah, we didn't do these things because that's for you. And then
mm,
I say, well, why is it for me? Like, you're right. We'll take care of it. Like,
mm,
so this concept of like, why aren't you confident to get the thing done? Why don't you feel like you have permission? Like, usually relates to like all these structures, and are they clear? And if it's not feeling right for us, must mean it's not clear to some extent. So excited to dig in on this topic today. Um, Apparently
sure.
so excited. I'm not even going to ask you guys how you're doing today.
Just diving right in. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, doing great. Excited to chat about this. It's definitely something that I had to tinker with a lot when I was building Emergent, um, and kind of like you were saying, just whenever I would hit the wall of you've done this four times today. What is the issue? Um, I just got in the habit of being like, okay, what would stop this? What would prevent this from happening? And then kind of working backwards from there. But it's trial and error for sure.
I find it very interesting. I never thought when I started working with AI that so many of the obstacles to overcome are entirely human obstacles. Like we can find memories from our human interactions that mimic these behaviors, and we see the same things happening with agents and bots and machines, and it's like
Yeah.
didn't see that coming.
Right.
Well, they learned from us. So, and it's another way that we're reminded of like how powerful the training data set is, and just the way that how hard it is to overcome and really put any entity, human or AI, in a position to be successful without you is like the forever challenge. And I mean, these beliefs came from all the like dysfunctional organizational stuff that gets in the way of humans being successful. And so I've been thinking about it a while, and then, but I didn't go right there. Like once I started feeling this friction, but then once I saw what rules I wanted to apply, it came back to like confidence and like, okay, they must not be confident that it's the right path, or else they wouldn't be asking me. And that's where I took it to like, all right, am I just going to create a bunch of rules now? Or is there something foundational missing? And with all the beliefs and values, especially this one, it's like it was just on the wall, right? Like they might see it, they might not. Even if they do see it, are they going to adhere to it? It's not baked in anywhere. So it's not surprising, like as I think about it, that I've been I've been challenged by this, but it's also been interesting as I unravel. I went like line by line through my Claude MD doc yesterday for the first time ever. Um, and the way that they, like when it's not intentional, and we're just like, man, can you just stop making that mistake? Right? Like they build on it, and it's like they add it. They've been adding it in, and this like Claude, all the friction I've been feeling has been building up in the Claude doc. it's like, well, this was a problem on this date, so don't do that. And it just leads them down the path more of just doing that more, like somehow confuses the situation. And again, like you're absolutely right, Trisha, like when you think back to like rules that like are put in front of you and then the first thing is an exception and you're like, but yeah, not as easy to document all of this stuff away as we think it is. But I loved your idea last week, Erin, about facts.
Mhm.
And I think the name of this game is like, how do we find clear, unambiguous language to help our AI brethren out?
Mhm.
Yeah, and that's my first question. Does it go in a fact, Erin, or does it go somewhere else?
Yeah, I think there's kind of two ways that I approach like the concept of a fact. So in Emergent, the app, it is a piece of data that is in a table for facts, and they get read and inserted into context differently than other things do. But on my like local machine, when I'm running Claude Code, I usually start every project with a list of invariants. And for whatever reason, that word seems to really
I'm
work
looking it up right now
with
because I don't
AI.
know what it is.
Um,
Invariant.
it means don't vary from this. Like it needs to be
The
this
same.
every time,
Okay.
and never do anything different. And that has helped. It has helped a lot, but it also causes that same friction of, okay, when I need to like bend my own rule, like how do I convince you that, like, oh my gosh, I had built, so for a while my wife was using the same Claude account that I was for her work, and so we had two separate projects, but we were both using some of the same tools. And so depending on what project I was in, I was like, do not ever like cross these two wires. Like, don't do it, never ever do it. And then when I got ready to onboard her into Emergent, I'm like trying to get all of her data into the system, and it was like, I can't do that. You said never to do this, and so I'm not going to do it. And I was like, look, those were my rules. Like, I'm telling you, as the person who made the rule, you don't need to follow that rule right now. And it was like really hard to break out of it. And I think to some degree it's a function of getting, you're more likely to document negative feedback than positive, or like than something that went well. Because like if I'm going through a session and something breaks or doesn't do what I wanted it to, I'm going to correct it. But I'm not always as diligent about saying, hey, you did that perfectly, document how you did that so that we can do it again next time. So I think to some extent, the reason your Claude MD file is full of here's all the ways I screwed up. It's like it's genuinely it trying to prevent like disappointing you or like failing its job or its task. And it just skews to the negative and skews to like hard and fast rules instead of adding any nuance. And I've noticed it doing this a lot in the code too, like in the code comments and stuff, where it like if it fixes something, it'll leave a comment about what we did before that didn't work. And I'm like, that's not important. We've moved on from that. Like, you don't need to like litter your comments with like failed attempts that came before. Like that's not important. So
It's like we're in the CYA era.
yeah,
Right?
exactly.
Like I like this specific angle, like where it's like it happened. So we started AI Daily again. And I've got it set up so that my agent Baldwin does some research before the show and does a top 3. articles for the day or news stories for the day. And we don't look at them, like we don't vet them before we go on the show. It's like just a little reveal thing. And like Monday through Wednesday, it was like, all right, these are, man, you're crushing it, dude. This is awesome. And then I tried to turn it all into like an SOP, right? Where I was doing some pre-show and some post-show and some clips. I was like, all right, I want to just do one command like that, just knows how to process wherever we're at. And then on Friday, it like number one was Agent Hub. And I was like, all right, this feels like maybe a homer pick of like the number one news story at AI is HubSpot related. I mean, it is kind of a big deal, and I'm sure it made some waves out there. But so we'll let it slide. But then after the show, I'm like, yeah, was that a homer pick? And I was like, you know what, you're right. We say HubSpot here in the command. I was like, all right, yeah, let's improve that. And then on Monday, like number one was like price books, like nothing to do with AI, like just straight HubSpot update. And like after, they like corrected it some more in the command. And then I was like, how many times is the word HubSpot like in the command now? And it knew the difference. Like, thankfully, it's like this smart, right? Where the command involves HubSpot data and setting up records and associated. So the word HubSpot's going to be in the command, but it was like, yeah, there's 9 times where it's in ops, but these 6 times it's in the curation and related to the content. In 5 of those instances are in my correction, right? So it's like, why, like, just take it out? Like, we don't need to talk about the mistake being made. We just like in that kind of thing. And I saw it there first, and then I saw it all over the Claude MD file. I was like, oh, okay, something to watch out for. And I'm not sure I know exactly how to prevent it yet, other than trying to reduce the number of times we want to correct. But I think you're right in terms of like, it would be nice if it was like, oh, Chris really liked this, so let's do less of this other stuff or somehow take it out. But it can't, like, there's nothing to correct. So there's no reason to add, like, lean in more. It's not clear how to do that, and they're not going to ever comment in the code. But if it's a mistake, it's like, yeah, we can do all sorts of things to make sure we don't do that again. It like reminds me of like those cubicles where folks just have Post-it notes like everywhere and color coded, and it's like, if it's red, we know not to do that one, but only in these cases.
I'm kind of just thinking out loud here. I haven't tried this, but it might be, I might add and just see how it goes. Add an invariant that any corrections be from a positive frame instead of a negative. So not, I did this wrong, I need to never do this again, but Chris likes it better when I do it this way. I need to always remember to do it this way. Because then you're encoding the right thing and not like, because if it's in their context, it's gonna kind of pollute the context with this one thing that it's probably trained to pay extra attention to because it's a mistake that it's made before. So yeah, I wonder if making it frame every correction as not don't do this, but do this every time, if that would be helpful.
Okay, continuing to go down that thread, as well as this is so much reminding me of normal human behavior. I'm sure you've heard this before. Normal human behavior, you give people 9 positives for every negative. you tell them what they're doing, you focus on what they're doing right, not what they're doing wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And I am willing to raise my hand and bet that we are all doing way more of like, you did this wrong.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Do you think it's possible that agents could benefit from the same sort of positive reinforcement? Is there potentially a skill that you teach it that says, if you say that was perfect,
Mm-hmm.
it self-analyzes and compares what it did to try to like
For sure.
reinforce what what the best result is?
Definitely. Yeah, I think, and like I've seen studies where assigning like a point system to like, this is gonna sound bad, like good behavior, like assigning points to the right thing so that it's kind of a gamified, like I need to get more points, not I need to be less incorrect. I have seen that have like significant effects on the outcomes.
Okay, another thing, just noticed, penny dropped, every AI model I've seen has like a thumbs up, thumbs down right there.
I feel like that's more for their back end engineers to figure out. Like I think it can be.
But when you're building your own thing, do you have an equivalent built into it?
I do, yeah. So it has a couple of ways that it learns. For anything that gets approval, it tracks any of the edits that you make and then stores those and looks for patterns on like a weekly basis. So, Erin always changes this word to something else. Let's create a rule to use this instead of that. And that's been helpful. I've also done it where if I rerun the prompt at all, or if I have to like do whatever I was doing, like do it more than once, that it picks up on that and starts to kind of self-analyze like why I did it more than once, by like taking the two prompts and comparing them.
Yeah, that's something I'm hoping or planning on being a part of this process of like so much of the lack of clarity like comes from memories.
Mhm.
And when it tries to say like, oh, well, you said this, it calls it like a ruling. And a lot of the rules and ruling come from this assortment of memories
Mhm.
that are like, maybe I was annoyed at the moment, but maybe I wasn't. It was just a passing comment. And somehow it got like recorded as
Mhm.
memory. And that's like one of the challenges. So I'm glad that I'm learning these new words because like if they say the word ruling or rule,
Mhm.
I don't know for sure where the thing is documented,
Right.
right? Which means they don't know for sure.
Mhm.
And this agent, like, it's like, are they in that namespace at the moment? Like, they might see it as a ruling based on what they're doing, they might not.
Mhm.
And that's been interesting in terms of like, so I went down like 75% of the characters
Mhm.
because it was about like how do I put the sub agents like in the best position to be successful. And when I said that, it's like, well, they only get the Claude MD doc and their agent profile. They don't get any other context. So that's why I started on the Claude MD file. But now that that's pared down, I got to make sure like the context flows to where it's supposed to go. Uh, but it's been an interesting learning experience, like on the difference between pointers and like how much of the context do you want in this file versus pointing to it. And
Mhm.
again, uh, it very much aligns with like, is it a governance rule? Like you're not going to let me move forward in the CRM in the deal? like unless I put this stuff in, or you're just going to get like mad at me at the end of the month when we look at it as a report, which is kind of what's happening right now. Like friction's been building, but knowing that, I don't want to put deal restrictions on you, because then you're not going to move deals for if you don't know how to like overcome them.
Right.
So it's a lot of learning right now. But if we want folks doing stuff, or agents, if we want them doing stuff on our behalf, like they need to know how to do it.
Right. I've also found that less, or at least kind of like you were paring down the Claude MD file, less context tends to lead to less variability in the output. Because if there's a ton of context and some of that is these, negative framing memories, it may just focus on that this one time. It may focus on that regularly, instead of the parts that you actually want it to be reasoning with. And that's kind of where the hierarchy of facts, canonical, and then just plain memory came in. And then I also have a system where each memory, it gets a score, and that score can go down over time if you don't reference it, if it doesn't solve your problems, like if it's not relevant to the things that you're doing. So some of those like passing comments of, hey, this sucked, or whatever you said that like triggered the memory to be made, if it doesn't come up anymore, and it's not something that is consistently causing problems, then it just kind of fades from it's still, you can still recall it, but you have to be more and more specific about recalling that memory, so it doesn't pollute the waters as much as it used to, at least.
Yeah. Something that was super interesting, and I think it can be easy to underestimate. And I think maybe this is what I did. I was like, okay, this is like the most foundational file in the system. So of course they know how to manage and maintain it, and how it should look, and what should be in it, what shouldn't be in it. And like before I even got into how messy it had gotten, I think, to put it nicely, I said, no, we're gonna go line by line. And by the way, like whenever I choose to like be involved in like a walk, like just going through every step, there's a huge value, like always, on the other side of this. And as I was doing that, so it's like presented, we're gonna review it together, right? And the first thing it rewrote, I'm like, man, I was not expecting it to be that verbose. Like the whole, like, it's a machine readable file. Like and I was like, what's going on? Like, what's happening? And he's like, well, I thought we were reviewing it. It needs to be human readable. Like, and I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah, we're doing the review over here in the session. We don't want that stuff in this file that's going to persist long after. So make it machine readable. And then it like trimmed it down like 90%. Right. And it's interesting to think about, like, if I don't have that nuance, like it doesn't necessarily solve. If I don't understand that nuance, or I don't even ask, like it just end up with like the same size file that really isn't built for the agents. It's built for me too, even though I'm never looking at it. Like it has nothing to do with my usage. Another thing that had to come out, like, and you mentioned like as soon as your wife came into play, like I had a lot of Chris's, like Chris likes this, and I've got like 10 people in the main brain now. and it's not just me. So like pulling out some of that stuff was interesting too. And I think like to try and connect it more to what we're talking about today, it's like this is the file that gets loaded in the main session and for every subagent.
Mhm.
And if that's not in good shape, like I take full responsibility for why I've been feeling friction,
Mhm.
right? Like nobody's been put in a position to be successful if that file is all over the place and messy and hard to maintain.
Mhm.
And which file is that file?
The Claude.md file.
Claude.md. I was wondering.
Yep.
So Chris, a week ago, your friction was, or one of them was, that your agents kept on asking you if you wanted to merge contacts that you'd already told them, no, we're not merging those. Has that continued to be an issue for you this week? And if so, what are you going to do differently after this conversation today?
Well, it's not a collective meetup week, so I haven't been running into that as much. I do like there continues to be improvement in like you can tell like which commands are going really well. Like multiple humans like me and Ryan spend like more time than usual like on the commands related to parsing transcripts. And the way that like when you can have multiple viewpoints attacking the problem, which in this case was like faulty transcript, recordings, the way it can map, it's gotten so good at mapping who's talking, even though their names are not in the talking, like speaker 2, speaker 3, like speaker 4. And it's like, well, based on this pattern in last transcripts, and you see these, like, it's this person, right? It's like, yes. And it's like, it's like the word is different. It's not even a person's name. And it's able to like match it. Like crisp has a habit of changing Chris and Kristen and these words into crisp, right? Like, so it's like the context is building for it to get better. But those are some of our most like we put the most effort into those commands, and we've hired more agents to try and solve the problem. Like, all right, this one's going to run it, and then this one's going to run it, and then this one's going to run it, right? So those moments, it makes sense that it's basically like, look, I'm one agent here. Like, maybe I could have some help. Like, if you want me to focus on understanding the strategy instead of worrying about people's names, like, yeah, have somebody else like come in and do that. So I haven't been like, definitely haven't been focused on that as much, but I really need to like finish this, like this path, because it's not done yet. What I started on was like, all right, if I'm telling everybody else, then I'm feeling like confidence is a major factor in my success. Because it started with those values, like the teach values. C stands for confidence, and like instead of making a bunch of rules, I'm like, all right, maybe I just need to instill the values, and then that brought me to all right, empowered. So now I'm trying to encode it, which is still a different way of thinking about it. So I'm kind of figuring out the combination of, all right, buy the book machine readable Claude.md file, but also let's see what happens when we just put these values, because it called it out. It was like, basically, if it's just an FYI, it shouldn't be in here. Like if they're not going to stop and take action based on it, or like it's not going to trigger anything, like that was going to be the rule. And then I said, like, well, I just want to try it and see. But it's only going to work if like I follow the chain and like update the profiles that need the pointers, need like to receive the pointers, and need to like finish the process of encoding, right, and not end here. Because when it's happened before, it's usually in response to like, oh, your file's getting too big.
Mhm.
And it's like, all right, we'll make it smaller. And then you like immediately feel it
Mhm.
because you weren't involved in like removing it. You're just like, all right, make good decisions about paring it down.
Mhm.
So that's where my focus is now, is like kind of finishing this infrastructure process.
Okay. And it's going to be a week and a half until we find out how it goes the next time around. You have until Friday, well, maybe like Thursday to get ready, I'm assuming.
Well, it's all tied together, right? Like, because another part is like there's 30 top level repo folders. Like when I learned from George like 2 months ago, he had like 5 or 6. And that's where I started. And then, you know, I justify it by saying, all right, well, I'm building 20 websites and I'm doing like media and client work. And so it's not going to be as tidy as, people that aren't doing that stuff. But then you start to see the agents like, I'm curious what you think, where your head's at on this, Erin. Like the value of me understanding that I can look at the folders or the structure and have a pretty good idea where it should go, so that when I see the agents working and I catch the file path like it's not right or something like that, or they tell me it's ready and then I can like know where to get it, versus like maybe 50 top level folders is good. Like maybe that's better for the agents. Like, but it seems to not be, because sometimes they put it in output, sometimes they put it in roadmap, sometimes they put it, in various places when it's the same kind of action.
Mhm.
So like how do you think about the structure at the top level? Like what is absolutely needs to be there, and when is nesting, and how do you go about nesting?
Yeah. So in Emergent, it's broken down in a couple of ways. So the like top layer database that is super specific to like deals and clients and discovery and certain delivery method, like all of that is encoded in a structured database. And the way that it can interact with that is through the MCP tools. And I have spent a ton of time, because I think there's over 100 now. There's 100 tools that come with the Emergent MCP. And so one of the problems that I was having was, how does it know what tool to use at any given time? How does it know to pull from the deal records and not the memory of the deal? And a lot of that was trial and error, and trying to figure out like what is the smallest amount of context that I can give you about each tool so that you know exactly what it does and exactly how you need to interact with it. And that was a bit of a process, but that's kind of how the top layer works, is just being really intentional about the tools and the types of data that each tool stores. And some of that is encoded in like the Claude MD file for the project itself. And then a lot of it is also built into support docs, which also live in your knowledge base. So it got to a point where I have kind of two things that if they can't figure it out, you have two parachutes. The first one is a tool guide, which is a tool that it can use to figure out what tool that it needs, which is super meta and confusing, but it seemed to help. And then the like last ditch effort is look in the support docs. And if you still can't figure it out, that's when it like raises a flag. So having layers that it can fall back on of like, okay, if you don't know this or you're not sure of this, here's how you can get more confidence in what you're supposed to be doing. And then the memory layer itself, we've talked about, has the facts and the canonical documents, and then all of the rest of the memories. But it also does a process every night that's similar to dreaming. I think that's what Anthropic called it. It's not, I don't like to anthropomorphize too much, but the concept is it looks at all of the content that has come in the past day, and then makes decisions about, do I need to create a new memory for this, or does it combine with this other thing? Can it be condensed? And it goes through a process of not pruning things, because like you said, if you just let it start pruning things, like you're gonna lose stuff that you didn't intend to. But it mostly either combines, synthesizes, or will rank it lower. So it has a scoring system for, how relevant it is, how often it comes up. So if it sees that this is a piece of content that's something that is already ranking pretty low and it was kind of retrieved but not used in this context, then it will kind of bump the ranking down a little bit. So, and then all of that I can show you really quick. Let me pull up.
Oh, goody. I'm like, when do we see? Where's the show and tell part of this?
I know, right? Let me.
I'm a visual person. I'm not an oral person. As evidenced by the fact that I listen to audiobooks on the phone all weekend long, and I can like pick up one that I read a year ago, and I'm like, brand new book.
Right. So share my screen.
Fun for me.
Right. Every day is a new day. So this is what the review looks like. So all of this is what the dreaming workflow comes up with, and it will propose any changes. Well, not propose. So it goes ahead and makes the changes, but if you want to come in and look and approve things, you can always revert those changes. So it's never pruning so that it's irreversible. It's mostly just giving you a way to kind of improve over time. And the recall due, so that's where it's bumping down things that aren't being talked about a lot. And then changes is typically like a synthesizing a bunch of other things. So like coming up with a new framework based on how I've been using the system. So like my meeting prep stuff and
So
yeah.
Do you have time set aside to review these?
I don't do it a ton. If I start noticing, if things start not being what I expected, this is my first place that I go.
Okay.
And it has a way, let me see. I think it's, yeah, so you can like run through them all together. So you're not having to like individually click on all these things, because it'll tell you, I don't know if it'll load.
Yeah, I think that's the part that I'm struggling with in terms of like because you and Nico brought this up like in the same week, like a month or two ago, like this concept of just reflection, and so I built it like right away. It just makes me feel bad that it's got this all other stuff like ready for you to come and approve, ready for you to
Right.
come and look at. I'm like, all right.
Right. And that's why I was like, I'm not going to be diligent about reviewing this every night. Like there's just no way I'm going to go in and do that. So my rule became if confidence is 80% or above, just go ahead and make the change. Don't do anything if it's less than 80%, but if it's 80% or above, go ahead and make the change. If I notice a decline in performance, I will go check and see what changes were made. And then once I get here, I can either discard it or, and then the more you keep stuff, it remembers, okay, you typically keep the frameworks that I come up with. Like those are usually good, but the combination of like the synthesizing of separate memories, maybe you don't approve all the time. So the confidence starts to go up on things that it knows you usually keep. And so that just becomes like a self-improving system as well.
Holy grail.
Right. But yeah, this lets you kind of work through it quickly. Oh, and this one is synthesized from 3 agent runs, where I was working on like a Google Analytics. I think it was through Composio, and was just being weird about how it was calling things. So yeah, that's the review system. And then I don't know if I have any learning turned on right now. Yeah, where you can come in and see like who's getting more edits than the other agents and how to kind of correct things upstream if needed. Like if I find out that my revision editor is constantly needing me to kind of get it back on track, then I can go in and look at the prompts, look at the context that it's getting. And then it will eventually start to propose house rules for doing stuff like that.
So much visibility.
For sure. And it makes such a huge difference. Because all of this data that you're seeing in the app, I can also just go ask Claude. Like I can just go say, like, of all of my agents, who gets the most corrections? What can we do to fix that? Or I noticed that you're not remembering this one thing. Did you like make changes to it in your reviews? Or in your dreaming, and it can tell me definitively if it did or did not, and we can revert the change right there. So even if I'm not coming in here to look at everything, if I notice things that are off in my flow of work, the system knows enough about itself to be able to answer my questions and correct itself based on that conversation.
Yeah, instead of just working around and creating workarounds, like where we bring it back to the humans, like anybody can be empowered to do this stuff, and that's why like teaching people how to have the conversation, to even ask these kinds of questions, like is empowerment to me. And giving everybody prompt libraries and just like, oh, just plug this in and be fine. Like that's learned helplessness. That's like,
right.
We don't either trust you or we can't put you in a position to be successful because we don't know how to have good conversations with AI.
Right.
Like, and in our session with Clement and Casey yesterday, like how much of this is just because we've never known, like never been able to ask to make the system better.
Right.
It's always like, oh, I can't make the system better, so let me, ask about workarounds,
Mhm.
right? And help me build a workaround, Breeze. And then like, I've never experienced this, but I wouldn't be surprised. And I would hope that be like, Breeze would be like, well, we could just fix it. Could
Mhm.
just like get rid of this property because you don't even use it like anywhere else, right? Things like that. And like, yeah. So
I've had Emergent make some suggestions based on project invariants where even I was pretty impressed. Like the one that comes to mind is in my workflows, I was using basically giving the agents all MCPs for whatever they needed. And then I was running into issues where the MCP didn't have the thing that I needed it to do. And so I was talking to Claude and I was like, you know, are there things that you think we should hard code into the platform? And one of my invariants is everything has to be config driven. So anyone can do it, not just me, not just, I've got a request that Erin builds this integration every time I need a new integration. And so it was like, why don't you just do an HTTP tool the same way that you would do an MCP tool and have it just call the API directly? You configure that tool itself with the input schema, the output schema, the API you're calling, whether it's a post or get or patch. And I was like, oh, yeah, that makes so much more sense. Like that's going to make my life so much easier. And it kind of came out of those,
that principle.
like it just like pushing back on something that it knew was not supposed to be malleable in the system.
Yeah. I'm pretty excited right now about how it's gone so far. But like I've been holding off on some reviews and like this huge list of things like before I get this foundational done. And now like doing this sweep where it's all about the beliefs and the values and just like and then creating confidence levels based on that stuff. Like now there's just more to work with. And like if I can create that, less reliance on training data, more reliance on value first stuff. I'm optimistic that we're going to see some improvement. So what do you think, Trisha?
Again, just really I find it so interesting how all these unruly behaviors just map out to human behaviors. Didn't expect that.
Yeah, that's right.
And I feel like the answer for this one is more positive, less negative reinforcement.
Right. Which I feel like is a good habit just to be in general. So maybe it's good to plug it into AI too.
Deep. So I don't know if we're doing a fourth belief next week. I'm not sure which one it is exactly. We've done AI partnership was the first one instead of replacement. And then we did wholeness over fragmentation. Today was empowerment over learned helplessness. So next week will either be natural value flow over artificial control or emergence.
Stop performing your AI strategy.
Stop what?
Stop performing your AI strategy. Oh, natural value flow over artificial control.
Stop performing?
I don't know where that came from, but the belief is natural value flow over artificial control.
I think I know where it's going. Where my mind goes is like, the difference between like somebody putting on a performance versus just
Yeah.
showing up authentically, right? And so maybe
Executives admitting their AI strategy is more for show.
Right.
yeah. Oh, that's gonna be a fun one. This is belief number one. So like so many things get crushed when you think you have control that you do not have, which is a lot of sass. So that's going to be a fun one next week. So thank you both so much. Always a good time. And everybody else, have a great rest of your Wednesday. We'll see you next time.